The metallic clang of the pipe wrench echoed through the dimly lit maintenance shaft as Alex Vance tightened the last valve. Another shift, another repair, another day on Deep Core 7. He wiped the sweat from his brow with a grimy sleeve and glanced at his watch. 0230 hours. The night shift stretched endlessly before him, an empty corridor of time, much like the empty corridors of the station itself. Deep Core 7 orbited a massive gas giant in a distant star system, extracting valuable element from the planet's upper atmosphere. It was a marvel of engineering, a hive of industrial activity, and, for Alex, a prison of routine and solitude. He was good at fixing things. Machines made sense. Their problems were logical, their solutions methodical. People were different. Alex never quite knew what to say or how to act around others, always feeling slightly out of place, as if he were missing some fundamental understanding that everyone else possessed naturally. When he slept, which wasn't often, strange dreams haunted him. Visions of crystalline structures reaching toward a violet sky, voices speaking in languages he shouldn't understand but somehow did. He'd wake with a lingering sense of loss, a hollow feeling in his chest, as if something essential had been taken from him. The station's AI core greeted him as he made his way through the maintenance level. "Good evening, Technician Vance. Repair on subsection 4G has been logged. Would you like me to assign your next maintenance priority?" "Let me catch my breath first," Alex muttered, sliding down against the wall to sit on the cold metal floor. He pulled a nutrient bar from his pocket and unwrapped it mechanically. The bland taste matched the colorless monotony of his surroundings. All steel and artificial lighting, regulated temperature, and recycled air. He'd been stationed on Deep Core 7 for 3 years now. Or is it 4? The days blended together in his memory, indistinguishable from one another. Omnicorp, the megacorporation that operated the station, valued efficiency above all else. Employees were assets, resources to be optimized, monitored, and eventually replaced when they wore out. As he chewed the tasteless bar, a sound caught his attention, a whisper through the static of his communicator. He frowned, adjusting the device on his wrist. It was probably interference from a mineral processing plant on level 5 or feedback from the magnetic shields. But then it came again, clearer this time. "I miss you so much, my husband." Alex froze, the half-eaten bar forgotten in his hand. The voice was unlike any he'd heard before, melodic and resonant, with an accent he couldn't place. It was both utterly foreign and strangely familiar, like a forgotten song suddenly remembered. "Who's there?" he called, rising to his feet. "This is a restricted area." Silence answered him. He checked his communicator, but the channel was clear. No one should be able to access his personal frequency except station management and emergency services. Core, scan for unauthorized personnel in subsection 4G. The AI's response came after an unusual delay. "No unauthorized personnel detected in your vicinity, Technician Vance." Something wasn't right. Court never hesitated. Alex moved cautiously through the dimly lit corridor, listening intently. The constant hum of machinery provided a backdrop to the soft sound of his boots on metal grating. He turned a corner and found himself in a rarely used storage section, a place where broken equipment and outdated supplies were left to gather dust. "Hello," he called again, softer now. A movement caught his eye, a flicker of light behind a stack of decommissioned air filters. Alex approached slowly, one hand reaching for the shock baton at his belt, standard issue for all station personnel. "I'm a station technician," he said firmly. "Come out slowly." The light shifted again, and from behind the equipment emerged a figure that stole Alex's breath away. She was humanoid, but clearly not human. Her skin shimmered with a silvery luminescence, catching the dim light like morning dew. Her eyes were pools of swirling colors, blues, violets, and colors Alex had no names for. Her clothing appeared to be made of a material that gently pulsed with its own inner light, flowing around her body like liquid. Most striking of all was her expression as she gazed at him. Recognition, relief, and a deep, aching longing that seemed to reach across the space between them and touched something inside him. "Kalen," she whispered, the name unfamiliar, yet sending a jolt through Alex's spine. At last, Alex backed away, his hand gripping the shock baton tightly now. "My name is Alex Vance. You're trespassing on an Omnicorp facility. How did you get aboard this station?" The woman took a step toward him, her movements fluid and graceful. "My name is Lyra, and you are Kalen, my husband, though you don't remember." Her voice caught on the last word. "Ugh." Fracture took so much from us both. Alex's mind raced. This had to be a hallucination. Maybe he'd been exposed to some toxic gas during the repair, or maybe he'd finally cracked under the monotony of station life. People didn't just appear on Deep Core 7, especially not people who looked like her. He raised his communicator. "Security, this is Technician Vance. I've encountered an unauthorized." The device emitted only harsh static, cutting off his words. At the same moment, the lights in the corridor flickered ominously. "They're jamming communications," Lyra said urgently. "The hunters, they've sensed us. We don't have much time." "What are you talking about? Who's jamming what?" Alex demanded, frustration overriding his initial shock. "Look, I don't know who you are or how you got here, but you always twist your wedding ring when you're thinking deeply," she interrupted. "Except you don't wear one in this reality. You sleep on your right side, with one arm under the pillow. You're afraid of falling from great heights, but you love flying. You can't stand the taste of cinnamon." Alex stared at her, his mouth suddenly dry. Each detail was correct, but they were such personal, insignificant things. How could she possibly know? "The dreams you have," she continued, her voice softening. "The violet sky, the crystal towers, that was our home, Kalen, before the fracture tore reality apart." A chill ran down Alex's spine. He'd never told anyone about those dreams. "This is insane," he whispered. "I know how this sounds," Lyra said. "But please listen. I'm not a threat to you. I'm trying to save you, to save us both." Despite every rational thought screaming against it, Alex found himself lowering the shock baton. Something in her voice, in her eyes, resonated with him on a level beyond logic. "You have 5 minutes," he said. "Then I'm calling security, jammed communications or not." Relief flooded her features. She reached into a pocket of her strange, luminous clothing and removed a small device, no larger than a coin. With a gentle touch, it hummed to life, projecting a three-dimensional image into the air between them. Alex gasped as the hologram took shape, a landscape unlike anything he'd ever seen. Massive crystalline structures rose toward a sky of deepest violet, where 2 moons hung impossibly close. The architecture defied Earth physics, with bridges of light connecting towers that seemed to be made of solidified music. "This was Kronos Prime," Lyra said softly. "Our homeworld, in a reality adjacent to this one." The image shifted to show people, humanoid but with the same otherworldly quality as Lyra. Among them stood a man who looked strikingly similar to Alex, yet subtly different. His stance was more confident, his eyes holding a wisdom that Alex had never seen in his own reflection. "That's me?" he asked, unable to look away. "That's Kalen," Lyra corrected gently. "Chrono-architect, shaper of temporal pathways. My husband." Her voice broke on the last word. "And yes, in the most fundamental ways, he is you." The hologram changed again, showing chaos. The beautiful crystal city now fracturing, the violet sky ripping open like fabric torn by an unseen hand. Dark shapes moved within the tiers, reaching through into the world. "The fracture," Lyra explained, her voice tight with control pain. "A catastrophic collapse of reality boundaries. Some believe it was a natural phenomenon. Others think it was engineered by the reality hunters." Reality hunters? Entities that exist by consuming the energy released when realities collapse. They feed on the death of worlds. Her expression darkened. They pursued survivors across the multiverse. You, Kalen, created a plan to escape them, to seal away your memories and essence within a stable reality where you could hide until I found you. Alex shook his head, trying to process the enormity of what she was suggesting. "You're saying I'm not." Me? That I'm this Kalen person with amnesia. It's more complex than simple amnesia, Lyra said. Your consciousness, your essential self, was integrated into this reality's version of you, a version that might have existed anyway. The memories were sealed away for protection, allowing only fragments to surface in dreams. And what about you? Why didn't you lose your memories? Pain flashed across her features. I was elsewhere when the fracture occurred. By the time I reached you, the process had already begun. I've spent what you would call years searching across realities for your energy signature. Alex ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration that felt suddenly unfamiliar, as if he were noticing his own habits for the first time. This is a lot. Even if I believed you, and I'm not saying I do, what happens now? What do you want from me? The reality hunters have found this dimensional pocket, Lyra said grimly. My arrival may have accelerated their detection. This station, all the people on it, are in danger. Deep Core 7 isn't some dimensional pocket, Alex objected. It's a mining station built by Omnicorp. Lyra's expression was both sad and knowing. Are you certain of that? Have you ever questioned why a corporation would build such an elaborate facility so far from populated systems? Have you noticed areas of the station that seem to serve no logical purpose? Restrictions that make no sense. Alex opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. There were restricted sections on the station that no one could adequately explain. Equipment that seemed unnecessary for mineral extraction. And sometimes, walking through certain corridors, he'd experienced a strange sensation, like reality was thinner somehow. I need to check something, he said abruptly. He moved to a nearby terminal and logged in. His technician credentials gave him access to most of the station's basic systems and schematics. He pulled up the official station plans and began searching. Core, he called. Show me the function of Sector 7B. Sector 7B, Water Reclamation and Processing. The AI responded promptly. Alex frowned. Now show me power allocation to Sector 7B for the past month. After a pause, numbers appeared on the screen. Alex's eyes widened. That's enough power to run the entire station twice over, he muttered. No water processing plant needs that much energy. He tried another query. Core, show me personnel logs for entries to Sector 7B. This time, the pause was longer. That information is restricted, Technician Vance. Security clearance level Alpha required. Alex had never encountered an Alpha restriction before. The highest security level he knew of was Gamma, reserved for the station director and Omnicorp executives. Something isn't right here, he admitted, turning back to Lyra. But that doesn't mean your explanation is the only possibility. No, she agreed. But it's the truth, and we're running out of time. She gestured to the lights, which had begun to flicker more frequently. Those aren't ordinary power fluctuations. Reality is becoming unstable as the hunters approach. Alex felt torn. Every rational fiber of his being rejected this fantastical story. But those dreams, the strange familiarity he felt toward this woman, the unexplained anomalies on the station. What do we do? He asked finally, not fully committing but no longer dismissing her outright. Relief softened Lyra's features. First, we need to find what Kalen left behind. A safeguard, a weapon, or a way to restore your memories. It would be hidden somewhere significant, somewhere you're drawn to. Alex thought for a moment. There's a maintenance hub in Sector 9C. I've always felt comfortable there. It's not on my usual rotation, but I find excuses to go there. That's a start, Lyra nodded. We need to move quickly and stay hidden. The hunters will be drawn to any unusual energy signatures, especially mine. As if in response to her words, the lights dimmed completely for several seconds before returning to a weak glow. In the distance, a low, groaning sound echoed through the station's structure. Metal under stress, or perhaps something far worse. What was that? Alex asked, hairs rising on the back of his neck. They're getting closer, Lyra whispered, fear evident in her voice for the first time. We need to move. Now. Doubt still clouded Alex's mind, but the growing sense of danger was undeniable. Whatever the truth, Staying put no longer felt like an option. "Follow me," he said, "and stay close." The corridors of Deep Core 7 had never seemed so ominous. Shadows stretched longer than they should have, and more than once, Alex thought he saw movement in his peripheral vision, dark shapes that vanished when he turned to look directly at them. Lyra moved with silent grace beside him, her luminous clothing dimmed to a soft glow that wouldn't attract attention. She seemed to understand the station's layout instinctively, anticipating turns before Alex indicated them. "We need to avoid the main passageways," Alex whispered as they approached a junction. "Security patrols will be making their rounds, and the night shift crew will be in the common areas." They took a service tunnel instead, a narrow passage that maintenance workers used to access the station's inner workings. The air was stale, tinged with the scent of lubricant and ozone. "How did you find me?" Alex asked as they crawled through a particularly tight section. "If there are infinite realities, how did you know where to look?" "Not infinite," Lyra corrected. "Vast but finite. And I had help." Her voice softened. "Before the fracture fully manifested, Kalen created a quantum entanglement between us, an unbreakable connection that transcends dimensional boundaries. No matter where you went, a part of you remained tethered to me, and a part of me to you." "That sounds intense." A small smile. "Touch your lips." It was a wedding gift in a way. Our people believe in bonds that last beyond death and dimensional shifts. The irony is that it was meant to be romantic, not practical. They emerged from the service tunnel into a quieter section of the station. Sector 9 was primarily automated, with minimal human oversight. Most of the machinery here ran independently, monitored remotely from the central command. As they approached subsection C, Alex felt it, a strange pull, like a half-remembered song calling to him. He'd always attributed the feeling to simple preference, but now it seemed more significant. "This is it," he murmured, approaching a nondescript maintenance hub. From the outside, it looked identical to dozens of others throughout the station, a centralized nexus of controls for monitoring and adjusting the various systems that kept Deep Core 7 functioning. But as Alex placed his hand on the access panel, something unusual happened. Instead of requesting his standard credentials, the screen flickered and displayed a pattern, a constellation of points that seemed to shift and move as he looked at them. "It's a recognition lock," Lyra whispered, her eyes wide. "Key to your biometric signature." Before Alex could respond, the pattern aligned itself, and the door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside was not the standard maintenance hub he expected, but a small, circular room filled with technology unlike anything else on the station. The walls were lined with crystalline panels that pulsed with soft, multicolored light. In the center stood a pedestal supporting what appeared to be a small model of Deep Core 7, except that it showed the station surrounded by swirling energy patterns that were definitely not on any Omnicorp schematic. "It's a dimensional anchor," Lyra breathed, approaching the model reverently. "Kalen didn't just hide here. He built this place as a fortress against the hunters." Alex stared at the model, transfixed. "Deep Core 7 isn't a mining station." "It is," Lyra said, "but it's also something more. The mining operation is the perfect cover. Mineral extraction creates natural dimensional disturbances that mask the anchor's energy signature. And the gas giant provides additional protection. Its gravity well creates a natural barrier against cross-dimensional incursions." As Alex circled the pedestal, his fingers brushed against one of the crystal panels on the wall. Instantly, a holographic display activated, showing text in a script he had never seen before, yet somehow could read. "Temporal Refuge Protocol," he translated aloud, the words coming to him without conscious thought. "Emergency measures for hunter incursion. Memory restoration sequence." He staggered backward, clutching his head as a sudden, sharp pain lanced through it. Images flashed before his eyes, fragments of another life, another world, another self. Lyra was at his side immediately, her cool hand supporting him. "It's beginning," she said. "Your memories are fighting to surface. Don't resist them, Kalen." "I'm not. I'm Alex," he insisted, but his voice lacked conviction. The room seemed to spin around him as more fragments emerged. Formulas for manipulating temporal fields, the feel of Kronos Prime's dual moons on his skin, the sound of Lyra's laughter across a garden of crystalline flowers. A loud alarm suddenly blared throughout the station, jerking Alex back to the present. Red emergency lights began to flash in the corridor outside. "Attention all personnel," Core's voice announced with an unfamiliar urgency. "Multiple system failures detected. Gravitational anomalies reported in sectors 3, 5, and 8. All personnel proceed to emergency stations." "This is not a drill." "The hunters," Lyra said grimly. "They're here." Alex fought through the disorientation of his emerging memories. "What exactly are these hunters? What do they look like?" "They don't look like anything in your normal spectrum," Lyra explained, turning to the model in the center of the room. "They exist partially outside conventional dimensions. To human perception, they manifest as distortions, shadows where there should be none, reflections that move independently, spaces that seem wrong somehow." As if to illustrate her point, the lights in the corridor outside flickered violently, and for a moment, the shadows cast by the emergency beacons seemed to reach toward the open doorway with grasping, elongated fingers. "They're drawn to dimensional weaknesses," she continued, manipulating controls on the pedestal that responded to her touch. "And to the energy signatures of chrono-architects like you. If I'm what they want, maybe I should just leave the station," Alex suggested. "Draw them away from everyone else." Lyra shook her head. "It's too late for that. They've already begun feeding on the anchor's energy. If we don't stop them, they'll consume the entire station and everyone on it. How do we stop them?" "We need to activate the defensive protocols Kalen put in place, but they require your complete consciousness to operate." She looked at him intently. "We need to restore your memories fully." Alex hesitated, fear gripping him. "What happens to me, to Alex Vance, if we do that?" Lyra's expression softened with understanding. "You won't cease to exist. The experiences, the skills, the connections you've formed as Alex, they'll remain part of you. But you'll remember everything else too. Your full self." Another alarm joined the first, this one higher-pitched and more urgent. "Warning," Core announced. "Hull breach imminent in Sector 5. Containment fields failing. All personnel evacuate immediately." The decision crystallized for Alex. Whatever the truth was, people were in danger. If there was any chance Lyra was right, he had to take it. "What I need to do?" he asked. Relief washed over Lyra's face. She manipulated the controls on the pedestal, and a compartment opened, revealing what looked like a circlet made of the same crystalline material as the wall panels. "This is a mnemonic resonator," she explained, lifting it carefully. "It will help align your consciousness with your sealed memories." She placed it gently on Alex's head. It was surprisingly light and adjusted itself to fit him perfectly. "Now focus on the model," she instructed, her voice calm but urgent. "See beyond its physical form to the energy patterns it represents." Alex stared at the miniature Deep Core 7, trying to see what she described. At first, nothing happened, but then his vision seemed to shift. The model blurred and reformed, revealing intricate webs of energy flowing through and around the station, like circulatory systems for reality itself. "I see it," he whispered. "Good. Now reach out, not with your hands, but with your mind. Find the pattern that resonates with you personally." Alex concentrated, letting instinct guide him. Among the complex energy flows, one strand seemed to pulse in time with his own heartbeat, a golden thread woven through the station structure. As he focused on it, the circlet on his head began to warm. The pain returned, more intense now, but also clarifying. Memories cascaded through his mind, no longer fragments but complete experiences. The Academy of Temporal Sciences where he had studied for a decade. The breakthrough that had earned him the title of chrono-architect. Meeting Lyra at a symposium on interdimensional harmonics. Their joining ceremony under the convergence of the moons. The first warnings of the fracture. The desperate plan to create a safe harbor. The heartbreaking decision to separate. He gasped as the final barriers collapsed, and Kalen's consciousness fully integrated with Alex's. Lyra, he breathed, seeing her truly for the first time since their separation. My love. Joy illuminated her face, but there was no time for reunion. The station shuddered violently around them, and the lights in a hidden room flickered. The defensive protocols, Kalen/Alex said, turning to the pedestal with new purpose. We need to activate them now. His hands moved over the controls with practiced precision, accessing systems hidden beneath the surface functionality of Deep Core 7. The model in the center began to glow more intensely, and the crystalline panels on the walls pulsed in response. The anchor is destabilizing, he explained as he worked. I designed it to create a dimensional pocket, a space slightly out of phase with normal reality where we could be safe. But the hunters have found the frequency. Can we repair it? Lyra asked, moving to assist him with the adjustments. Not in time, but we can invert its function. His expression was grim but determined. Instead of creating a pocket of stability, we can generate a controlled dimensional collapse, like a localized version of the fracture, but one we can direct specifically at the hunters. Lyra's eyes widened. That's incredibly dangerous. If the calculations are off by even a fraction, the entire station could be pulled into the void, he acknowledged. But it's our only option. The hunters have already breached the outer defenses. As if to confirm his words, the door to the hidden room suddenly sealed itself shut with a pneumatic hiss. Through the small window, they could see the corridor outside being consumed by unnatural darkness, shadows that moved against the light, flowing like liquid night. We need to hurry, Lyra urged. Kalen/Alex's fingers danced across the controls, initiating sequences and adjusting parameters. I need access to the station's main power core. If we can channel the reactor's output through the anchor, we'll have enough energy for the inversion. Lyra nodded, working on a separate panel. I'm trying to establish a link, but something's blocking me. Security protocols I don't recognize. Omnicorp, Kalen/Alex muttered. They must have added their own safeguards to the system. Core, he called out. Override security protocol. Authorization. Chrono. Prime. Kalen. 377. There was a pause, longer than usual. Authorization recognized. Core responded, its voice somehow different, deeper and more resonant than its usual tone. Welcome back, Architect Kalen. Dimensional defense systems ready for your command. You programmed Core? Lyra asked, surprised. I created its core architecture and implanted it within Omnicorp's standard AI system, he explained. It's been watching over me, over the station, all this time. The connection to the power core established, Kalen/Alex began the final preparations. On screens around the room, schematics of Deep Core 7 showed the spread of dimensional breaches, areas where the hunters had broken through, shown as expanding pools of darkness. I need to warn the crew, he said, tapping into the station's communication system. Attention all Deep Core 7 personnel, he announced, his voice echoing throughout the station. This is Alex Vance. The station is experiencing a severe dimensional anomaly. Proceed immediately to emergency escape pods. I repeat, evacuate the station now. He turned to another control and initiated the evacuation protocol. Throughout the station, bulkheads would be sealing to contain the breaches, guiding survivors toward the escape pods. Security override initiated. A new voice cut in, cold and authoritative. Technician Vance's access revoked. All personnel disregard previous announcement. This is Director Morrow. Remain at your posts. The situation is under control. Damn it, Kalen/Alex growled. Omnicorp. They think they can contain this, study it, maybe even weaponize it. Can they stop the evacuation? Lyra asked, concern etching her features. Not completely. The emergency protocols are hardwired. They can slow it down, but not prevent it. He turned back to the controls. Core. Override Director Morrow's command. Emergency priority. Unable to comply. Core responded. Executive override in effect. Kalen/Alex cursed under his breath. We're running out of time. The inversion needs to begin now, or the hunters will consume the entire station. But the crew, We'll have to take their chances, he finished grimly. If we wait any longer, none of us will survive. Through the window, they could see the darkness in the corridor solidifying, taking on more defined shapes. Writhing appendages testing the sealed door, leaving smears of void wherever they touched. Kalen/Alex began the final sequence, his hands moving with desperate speed. The inversion will create a localized implosion, pulling the hunters into a dimensional pocket that will then seal itself. The process will consume the anchor and most of this section of the station, but the rest should remain intact. The model of Deep Core 7 now pulsed with blinding intensity, the energy patterns around it swirling faster, converging toward the center. And us? Lyra asked quietly. What happens to us when the anchor implodes? Kalen/Alex met her gaze, a moment of stillness amid the chaos. I've programmed a different path for us, a dimensional shift that should carry us clear before the collapse. But it's not certain. We could end up anywhere, or nowhere. Lyra stepped closer, taking his hand. As long as we're together. The darkness outside the door had completely obscured the window now, and tendrils of void were beginning to seep through the seals. The room's temperature dropped precipitously, their breath becoming visible in the suddenly frigid air. It's time, Kalen/Alex said, entering the final command. Core, execute inversion sequence. Authorization, final sanctuary. Sequence initiated, core confirmed. Dimensional inversion in 10, 9. The crystalline panels on the walls began to vibrate, emitting a high, clear tone that grew in intensity with each passing second. The model of Deep Core 7 began to fold in on itself, the miniature representation of reality literally collapsing inward. 5, 4. The darkness beyond the door retreated suddenly, as if sensing the trap. The tendrils withdrew, gathering themselves for one final assault. 3, 2. Kalen/Alex pulled Lyra close, holding her tightly as the sound from the crystals reached an almost unbearable pitch. 1. Everything stopped. Sound, motion, even the flow of time itself seemed to pause. In that frozen moment, Kalen/Alex saw the darkness shatter the door, rushing toward them like a tidal wave of cosmic horror. He saw the model complete its impossible folding, becoming a singularity of pure energy. He saw the love and trust in Lyra's eyes as she gazed up at him. Then reality inverted. The darkness was pulled violently backward, swirling like water down a drain toward the singularity that had been the model. Screeching sounds, not audible but somehow felt, filled the space as the hunters were drawn inexorably into the trap. The room itself began to distort, the walls bending inward as space-time curved around the implosion. Kalen/Alex felt the dimensional shift he'd programmed activate, a sensation like being pulled sideways through reality. The last thing he saw was Deep Core 7 folding in on itself, compressing into an infinitesimal point of light before winking out of existence. Then there was nothing but the sensation of falling through an endless void, Lyra's hand still clasped tightly in his own. When consciousness returned, it came slowly, like waves lapping at the shore of awareness. Kalen/Alex opened his eyes to an unfamiliar ceiling, rough-hewn wood instead of the metal panels of Deep Core 7. Sunlight streamed through a nearby window, casting patterns across a simple but comfortable room. He sat up quickly, memories rushing back. Lyra, I'm here. Her voice came from nearby, and relief flooded through him as she entered the room, carrying 2 steaming mugs. She looked different, her luminescence dimmed to a subtle glow that might pass for human in the right light, her clothing now simple fabric rather than living material. She sat beside him on the bed, handing him one of the mugs. Careful, it's hot. Something like your earth tea, though the plants here are different. Where are we? He asked, looking around with growing curiosity. A small settlement on a world called Terra Nova. It's a colony world in a reality adjacent to your Earth. Technology level is similar to early 21st century Earth, with some differences. She smiled. We've been here for 3 days. You needed time to recover. The station? The people on it? Most of them made it to the escape pods, Lyra assured him. We were monitoring emergency frequencies before you lost consciousness. Omnicorp is calling it a catastrophic reactor failure. She paused. The dimensional pocket sealed properly. The hunters that were there trapped, cut off from the rest of reality. Kalen/Alex sat back, processing everything. The memories of both lives, Kalen the chrono-architect and Alex the station technician, existed side by side in his mind now, neither dominating the other. He was both, and yet something new as well. What do we do now? He asked finally. Lyra's expression became thoughtful. That depends. There are other survivors from our world scattered across the multiverse. We could try to find them, perhaps even gather enough chrono-knowledge to rebuild something of what was lost. Or, he prompted, sensing there was more. Or we could stay here, she said softly. Live more quietly. This world is stable, far from the attention of any remaining hunters. We could just be together for a while. Kalen/Alex looked down at his hands, the hands that had manipulated time and space, that had also fixed countless broken machines. Both sets of skills, both sets of memories, were his now. I think I like that, he decided. A chance to just live, to remember what it's like without constantly running or hiding. Relief and joy mingled in Lyra's eyes. There's a small house at the edge of the settlement. I've arranged for us to use it. The locals think we're researchers studying the forest ecology. Her lips curled in a small smile. Not entirely untrue. Kalen/Alex reached out, gently touching her face. I missed you, he said. Even when I didn't know who you were, I missed you. There was always this emptiness, this sense that something crucial was missing. The quantum entanglement, she murmured, leaning into his touch. It never broke, not completely. He drew her closer, their foreheads touching. The dual memories of loving her, both the millennia-spanning bond they had shared on Kronos Prime and the new, rediscovered connection in this moment, merged into something profound and unbreakable. Outside the window, the sun of this new world shone on an unfamiliar horizon. In the distance, mountains rose against a sky that was blue rather than violet, under a single sun rather than dual moons. Different but beautiful in its own way. We should explore our new home,